keynote speaker said, this is a time when they sit down, all the countries come together, and they make decisions about our lives. But what they're saying about our lives, are we really included? Is it inclusive about us? Is it? So, to have a seat at the table, organizations such as ours, civic organization, have what is called a side event. And so this is a side event. So we gather our community leaders and we talk about the real issue that includes us. So without further ado, I will read my statement because, like my colleague, I know I will go over my time. So, it's about gender violence in Africa and the Caribbean. This is a global call to action at the UNGA. Today, as we gather at the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly, we are reminded that the promise of the United Nations Charter to promote peace, dignity, and equality remains unfulfilled for the millions of women and girls across Africa and the Caribbean. Gender violence is not just a woman's issue, it's a human rights crisis. It is a public health emergency. It is a barrier to peace, development, and the 2030 Sustainable Development Goal that the United Nations put in place for us. Across Africa, child marriages, female genital mutilation, intimate partner violence, and sexual abuse in conflict zones continue at an alarming rate. Men wage war and women suffer. Women get raped and women are used as sexual tools to fight war. In many communities, survivors have no access to justice, no access to shelter, and no access to mental health care. In the Caribbean, gender-based violence claims lives every day. Behind closed doors, in school, on street. Survivors are too often silent by fear, cultural norm, or the absence of legal protection. And LGBT individuals face violence and discrimination without equal access to justice or safety. We all know somebody who's gone through that. These realities represent systematic human rights violation, the denial of right to life, dignity, education, and health. These are basic human rights issues. But we are here today because we know change is possible. Through events such as this one, we can have our voices heard and make, you talk about the footsteps. Well, let's put our footsteps down. We are here today because we know change is possible. Through the Miss Caricom International Foundation, we are turning advocacy into action with programs such as this. We have the Women's Health and Right Initiative, providing education, community health training, and access to reproductive and mental health services for survivors. The Girls Education and Leadership Program, ensuring girls stay in school, have mentorship opportunities, and break cycle of poverty and violence. The Men as Allies campaign, because this is not just about women. Engaging men and boys to change harmful norms and promote respect and equality. If we are going to have change, we must bring them to the table. Emergency release and counseling service, offering safe shelter, trauma-informed care, and legal support for survivors in crisis. Yet, despite these efforts, the funding gap remains wide. Grassroots organizations are on the front line, but lack substantial financial and technical support. Laws exist in many countries, but enforcing them and survivor services are chronically under-resourced. I didn't trust myself, so I wrote it down. That is why today at this historic UNGA gathering, this side event of the W4 Summit, I call for, 1, a global funding commitment, dedicated financial support for gender violence prevention, survivor services, and mental health programs in Africa and Caribbean, stronger legal framework and enforcement, ensuring existing laws protect survivors and punish perpetrators without delay or discrimination. Mental health and trauma care are vital. Recognizing the long-term effect of gender violence and funding accessible mental health services, education and economic empowerment, supporting programs that keep girls in school, and provide women with skills and livelihood for independence. Global partnership between governments, UN agencies, civil society, and the private sector to share expertise, resources, innovation, and address the problem on the ground. Ending gender violence is not just an act of justice, it is a precondition for peace and a prerequisite for sustainable development goals. Let us make UNGA 80 the turning point where words give way to action, where promise becomes programs such as this, and where women and girls in Africa and the Caribbean can finally live free from violence and fear. Together, we can deliver on this promise of equality and human rights for all. Thank you. I got my time.